I'm with Gidon Ariel here in Hebron. Now, Gidon, where are you from?
I live in a place called Ma'aleh Hever, which is a small village about 10 minutes south of Hebron. And originally I was from Queens, New York, but I moved to Israel about 45 years ago.
Well, now, today we're talking about the recent terrorist attack that just happened. Can you tell us what happened?
There was a gentleman who was leaving his home in Beit Chagai, which is another Jewish village, also about 10 minutes away from Hebron, from a different direction, or sort of. And on his way out of his community, he stopped and picked up a neighbor, which is the way it works in small communities. Not everybody has a car, not everybody needs to take a car. And he was driving towards probably Kiryat Arba, which is right next to Hebron, in order to do shopping or maybe to get a haircut or do whatever people like to do. And he got to a new traffic circle, and of course he slowed down. But as he was leaving the traffic circle, a terrorist in a car cut him off, slowed him down or stopped him, and shot at his car with 25 bullets, killing his passenger and wounding him very seriously. That happened about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. Today we're recording this at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
How is he today? Have you heard any news?
Yes, I've heard news because this gentleman, whose name can be shared now, it's Aryeh Gottlieb. I heard it on the radio, but I knew his name way before because very quickly we found out his identity because his wife works in our community as our community coordinator. So we all love her and we all love him because he comes frequently also. And as a matter of fact, they were just in our community a few weeks ago for Shabbat, for the weekend. So that's pretty much what happened. He was shot, but he went to the hospital in Beersheba, the Soroka Hospital. And we're getting news that he's doing better and better. He was shot in both legs and both arms and in his face.
Now, there's terrorist attacks here all the time, but does this...
No, there are not terrorist attacks here all the time. There are terrorist attacks from time to time. There are attempts at terrorist attacks all the time, and depending on what you call terror, sometimes they throw rocks, sometimes they shoot, sometimes they roll a burning tire down the road. They do all sorts of stuff in order to terrorize us. And if you are terrorized, then you try to move away from the thing that is terrorizing you. Their goal here is to move the Jews out of Judea and Samaria, but ultimately to move the Jews out of Israel in general. And to surrender to terror is the worst thing that you can do, especially if this is your land.
How close was this to your house?
6 kilometers.
Wow. So does it feel a little bit more personal when it's that close?
Certainly because of the person who was injured. Listen, a few months ago, the D family was traveling. DEE was traveling not far from Tiberias. And they live in Efrat, which is about 25 kilometers from my home. And the mother and 2 of her daughters were murdered in the car also by gunshot. Now, I never knew them, and Efrat is a little further away from me. But even still, the Jews are not just a nation. We are a family. I like to say that Israel is a family pretending to be a country. And everybody is connected. Certainly when somebody is so connected that we basically know him. We spend time with him.
With it being so close, it could be you, so does that give you fear at all?
I can't say that it does. I know that anybody could be hit at any given time. Of course, when I'm in my community, we have security arrangements. We have a security force that is on 24/7. But I travel all the time. I just got here by car. Yeah. But we have trust, of course, in the Lord above, and we have trust in the security forces, including the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, and police and other such forces. And I believe that good overcomes evil. And sometimes if a bullet has your name on it, that's a little bit like pessimistic, perhaps optimistic. But we focus on the positive and we love our life here. And the 99% of the time that it's great, it's great.
Have the suspects been caught yet?
At 6:30 this morning, I heard that they were caught. Certainly they're suspects. I don't know if... But I think that they said, yeah, we did it. So that's that. I think that they were identified as members of the Hamas terror organization.
Has 2023 been a bad year for terror attacks in Israel?
As an Israeli, if I can talk in that just general terms, I think that we've developed a certain kind of thick skin for terrorist attacks. I do believe, I remember once a friend of mine was talking about the Troubles. You're British originally, so the Troubles were during the Second World War when you were being bombed by Germany. But you kept a stiff upper lip and you kept on going. Okay, difficult times. Sometimes it's really hot. Sometimes it's raining a lot. I think that what is going on in Israel today is a little bit like birth pangs. We are way through the initial stages of the birth of the redemption, which I believe that the state of Israel is a very, very important part of. I moved here, like I said, about 45 years ago. Things were much more primitive than they are today. But 45 years before that, it was even more. So we are moving forward in realization of biblical prophecies at a cutthroat, pardon the expression, rate. That's probably not the right word. at a very quick rate. But on the other hand, we don't believe that we've already reached that redemption and that God is going to give us everything perfectly on a silver platter. It doesn't work that way. The land of Israel is acquired through difficulties. That is what our sages said already 2,000 years ago. And we've been through a lot of difficulties this year, this decade, this century. But more people were killed, more Jews were killed in a single day in Auschwitz that were killed by terror in Israel since its founding.
Wow. I imagine that the police have terror alerts all the time for possible terrorist attacks.
I once volunteered for a few months in the traffic police. So I don't know too much about how many terror issues the police and the army and the Shabak, the Sherut Bitachon Klali, whatever it's called in English, gets all the time. But we trust them. I was in the IDF myself good 30 years ago. So I know the kind of training that people get. And the fact is that we do hear every morning, every morning if you listen to the 6 o'clock news, you hear about last night the army went into Jenin and found two suspected terrorists. Okay, so little by little we're getting through to them. And we have trust that it will be good.
Have you had friends that have been involved in terror attacks, or have you been involved yourself?
Yes, it was just the other day before the terror attack. We were talking about our family. We have about 6 or 7 people in our smaller family WhatsApp group. And I remembered that I was stoned when I was driving my car, about 31 years ago. I don't have to get into the entire story. Then my daughter-in-law remembered that she was stoned only about 4 or 5 years ago. And then I remembered that my wife with our 2 oldest children were on a bus and they got stoned. This was before they had stone-proof, even bulletproof glass on buses. And the stone smashed the window and she had glass all over her. Thankfully, no blood even, as far as I remember correctly. And I think maybe somebody else in our family had some stone. So it happens. But we just keep on going on. And listen, we might have some sort of psychological problem, but we're dealing with it. But between you and me, who doesn't have a psychological problem? Yes. Right? Yes. So this is and I'm a big, and I repeat often, whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
Should the Israeli government stop Palestinians from going onto Israeli roads? Is that a solution?
That could be a solution, but the question is the cost too hard? And the cost seems to be being accepted into the family of democratic nations. Now, we're already not very much accepted into the democratic family of nations. To say, listen, you as a Muslim or as an Arab are not allowed on any of these roads because somebody sometimes does terror. Evidently, the security forces consider that to be a sledgehammer for killing an ant. Or maybe not. Maybe even one person killed is too much. But maybe if you take them off of the roads, maybe they'll figure something else out to do. That they're always trying to figure stuff out to do. But not to mention that you have within the Democratic Society of Israel a bunch of different perspectives to say, listen, we don't want any Arabs on these roads, which is what you suggested. P.S. Somebody else suggested it in a WhatsApp group that I participated in today as well. Then the left wing, including much of the media, will come out and say, how can you do this? We can't do it. So things have to move slowly, and tragically, people sometimes pay for that with their lives. But the people who live here, most of the people who live here in Judea and Samaria, near Hebron, recognize that we came back to here after 2,000 years. And we can't just give up. God has given us this land as a gift, and that is, we cannot tell him, listen, God, we don't, thanks, but no thanks.
Do you think there can be peace here in the Holy Land?
I'm sure that there will be peace here in the Holy Land. The question is, how long will it take for that Messiah to come and bring us that peace? Is there peace anywhere in the world? Just because we don't hear too much about the Hutsis and the Tutsis. And today I read on Twitter about how the Japanese really had it in for the Koreans in World War II. I'd never even heard of this. So there's crazy things going on all over the time. For some reason, the world decided that the place to always have a spotlight is the land of Israel and the Jews. Okay, so we're used to that. But we hope that one day there will be a majority of Palestinians who recognize it's better to have peace with the Jews than to have war with them. We're sitting here in Hebron, just by the tomb of the patriarchs, Abraham's tomb. Just on the other side, on the Palestinian side of the tomb of the patriarchs, lives my friend Ashraf Jabri, who is a world-famous Arab leader. He is the leader of the Jabri clan of about 40,000 residents of Hebron out of about 200,000. And he says we must live in peace with the Israelis. And he meets regularly with settlers like me, like Noam Arnon, the spokesperson for the Jewish community in Hebron, like Yishai Fleischer, the English language spokesman. And little by little, we are trying to build peace. And there is nothing that Israeli Jews, any kind of Israeli Jews, want more than peace.
What is your prayer?
I think I just said it. We want peace. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, please bless us with the peace. And we say this prayer 3 times a day. And I'll try now to talk a little bit slower and translate it directly from the Hebrew, even though I'm just thinking the Hebrew. I'm going to translate on the way. Sim shalom, please put peace. Tova uvracha, goodness and blessing. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael amecha, upon us and upon all of Israel, your people. Barchenu Avinu, bless us, O Father. Kulanu ke'echad bor panecha, as one in the light of your face. Ki b'or panecha natata lanu, because with the light of your face, of your countenance, you have given us Torat Chaim v'avat Chesed. You have given us the Torah of life and avat Chesed, loving of goodness, utzdaka uvracha, and justice and blessing, utzdaka uvracha, v'chaim v'shalom, and life and peace, ulevarech et kol amcha Yisrael, and you should bless all of your nation people every day and every moment with your peace. Blessed art thou who has blessed his people Israel in peace.
You're building relationships with Christians and you run Root Source. What's your website for people who'd like to contact you, get in touch with you?
Thank you. My website is called Root Source. That's root as in tree, source as in water. It's www.root-source.com. Best to just look up Root Source on Google and you'll find my website. And there we have about 20 Jewish teachers, each one teaching on the average 50 lessons. We have over 1,000 recorded lessons on such topics as biblical Hebrew, women in the Bible, Jewish prayer, Jewish history. And we have today over 20,000 Christians from all over the world who are fascinated and interested to learn about the Jewish roots of their faith from authentic teachers.
Okay, Gidon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and see you on Root Source.